different subject, and today is a subject which is very dear to most of you, and we are indeed blessed to have with us the Swamiji talking. Swamiji is not new to MMA; he's already spoken to you, and he's going to talk to us on the book, which is a recently written book, The Science of Mind Management. But before I request Swamiji, and we are also indeed privileged today to have three outstanding guests of honor joining us for a brief interaction with Swamiji and also deliver introductory remarks. Before I move on to the subject, let me briefly tell you what's happening. Two important events, which is not to be missed event. That is on the 21st of November, we have a Ponce Veterans series talk, entrepreneurial management versus professional management, and promoter-led companies versus professional-led companies. Again, we have got three outstanding speakers joining us to share their insight. Anand Kripalu is a managing director and CEO of Daigeo, and Raghavendra Ravi, consultant, and Mr. Shankar, founder, CAMS, and director of ACSYS Investment Private Limited. And Mr. Balraman will set the context. Then we have a talk on intellectual property right on 24th. Again, 25th, not to be missed event, is the marketing through social media and how startup scale faster. We have got three again women leaders. This is being done by MMA Women Business Council with the support of Ponce Veterans. Ms. Kriti Singh, Chairman CEO of startup company. She will be in conversation with Anusha Shetty, founder CEO of Grey, and also Kritika Balasubramaniam, Stoppers Communication. So it's going to be another interesting session. Then on 30th November, we have again an interesting event, Biden presidency trajectory upward for India. Again, three outstanding speakers going to be there, including Mr. Nirupama Rao and Anantha Nageshwaran. So with this, let me come to the event for today. As I mentioned to you, The Science of Mind Management by Swami Mukundananda. In fact, Swamiji has joined us from USA and is also going to be almost 6 o'clock in the morning. It shows the interest of Swamiji to connect with us, to share his insight early in the morning from USA. That clearly shows that we are all really indeed blessed. And we have, as I mentioned to you, three outstanding guests of honor, Mr. V. Balraman and Mr. Srikanth and Shivakumar. Now it's indeed my proud privilege to introduce. Can I go to the next slide, please? Yes. Yes. Now let me have the proud privilege of introducing Mr. Balraman. He is kindly agreed to deliver introductory remarks. You all know Mr. Balraman is from MBMIM Ahmedabad, the former MD of Ponce, former export director of Hindustan Lever, independent director of a number of other companies. He was also the chairman of CAMS and currently director on the board of Delphi TVS, Indio Nippon Electrical Limited. And he also passed into MMA, not 1 year, he was passed into 2 years. At the moment, he is also mentoring MMA on a number of initiatives, what's happening. And every time we will be coming out with a new thing, including a series on digital initiatives. And over to you, Mr. Balraman, to deliver the introductory remark. Mr. Balraman.
Thank you, Vijay. Thank you, Group Captain. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Pranams, Swamiji. Today is indeed a very special day in the calendar of MMA. All of us, each one of us, keeps making many choices in life. We make a large number of choices, even without even being aware of them. For example, you would have made a choice as to whether to listen to today's lecture, or to watch a television program, or to go out even during COVID times to wherever government has permitted you. What today's topic is all about is how you have a very good alternative, an alternative that will take you far ahead in your life and career, and even personally in terms of your self-development, if only you make careful, deliberate choices about which you spend a little time, at least a minute or two, thinking about and making a decision. The science of mind management as a topic first gave me the impression that it was a spiritual topic. As I read through, I realized it is indeed a human resource management topic. It is very much a management topic. In life, we attempt all the time to manage everybody else's mind other than our own. I didn't realize it until I read the book. when you are managing a team of salespeople, you try to manage their mind. You try to motivate them about how they should spend their time. If you are teaching a class, you try to motivate the students to learn. If you are in marketing, like I am, you think very carefully about how people perceive objects, words like brand names, and what phrases attract them, and you manage their mind. And if you are a success in marketing and branding, that means you have managed their minds very well. We do this all the time. But suddenly it occurred to me that we have never looked at our own selves as a consumer. We have never been a target audience for our efforts, while everyone else has been. And what a phenomenal gain there can be if only you shift inwards. If you look at yourself as the target consumer, and if you look at the needs that are that comes automatically, spontaneously, and the needs that you need to consciously develop in order that you progress long term. So that actually is the secret of Swamiji's wonderful book on mind management. He gives a number of suggestions, ideas. He has dwelt at length on the depths of psychology of what exactly is the mind, and he has drawn very liberally from our Vedanta and scriptures. And it would be far more interesting for him to describe what he said. I have one request of Swamiji, though. The request is that MMA is dedicated, Swamiji, to helping people develop themselves. We would be very, very grateful if you could look at a course, because your book obviously is a concise picture of everything that is possible. But which method will suit who? That is very difficult for an individual to find out. I'm sure there will be help coming from you, and we look forward to having you in several of our seminars. Apart from that, if there is a group of sessions that you can take, we'll be very grateful. Thank you, Swamiji. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Balraman. I think set the context and also your input that we should have a session exclusively for the group of people. I think it will be very, very good to get some CEOs and like-minded people. We'll have a session, and we'll, with the Swamiji's permission, we'll discuss with him and take it forward. Your session will be a brilliant session. Now, I also take this opportunity to welcome a large number of viewers who are watching this program, not only on the Zoom and also our live webinar, live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, and also our live on radio. And as usual, we already got a couple of questions. Please do share your questions. We'll be more than happy to address. Now, before I move on, let me also have the privilege of the format of this program. As I mentioned, we'll introduce all the speakers, the special guest of honor in Swamiji. Thereafter, I request launch the book and request Swamiji to speak on the theme of the book. And then Swamiji will speak for 30 minutes, interaction with the guest of honor, followed by Q&A. So keep your questions ready if you have anything. And now let me have the privilege of introducing the Swamiji. And we move on to the next slide. Mohan, please. Yeah. Now, we launched the book. Yes, we launched the book. Thereafter, we'll introduce the. Yes. Now, this is the book, e-launch of the book, The Science of Mind Management. It's a best-selling book, and it's all available at all the leading stores online. And it's a must-read for each one of you. And let me have the thing, each one of us to really happily that we are able to launch this book today in MMA. Now, we can, let me have the privilege of introducing the Swamiji. Swamiji. Yes, Swamiji his detailed profile has already been shared with you in the invitation, but let me have the privilege of introducing one. Swami Mukundananda is the founder, Jagadguru Kripaluji Yoga, Dallas, Texas, as I mentioned to you. He joined us from the USA, and is a well-renowned teacher, and he's also an international authority on mind management. He has been invited to lecture over 500 companies in US Fortune 500, as well as Google, Intel, number of leading corporates in the world. is invited lecture various NGOs and not-profit organizations. One such lecture, what he's doing it to MMA this evening, he has been invited to lecture at top universities. And also Swamiji has authored a book like Sound Mind Management for Success, Happiness and Fulfillment, Bhagavad Gita, the Song of God, Art of Mind Management, and many more. And it's indeed a privilege to have Swamiji with us. Very warm welcome to you, Swamiji. Again, we are looking forward to hearing you. Let me also have the privilege of introducing our other two guests of honor before I hand over the session to Swamiji. Srikanth, the past president of MA, and also joined managing director of Breaks India Private Limited, and started his career with Sundaram Palimar. And also, Srikanth has over 20 years of senior management experience and board member of number of other companies. And he's also on the trustee of Sundaram Charitable Chennai Wellington Corporate Foundation. Srikanth is a past president of Madras, and as I mentioned to you earlier, and he's been a great sort of support to MMA. In fact, he's the one who really managed the building so well. Today, the building MMA is so tall and so proud of each one of us, and Srikanth got a major contribution towards construction of the building. Very warm welcome to Mr. Srikanth. Pleasure having you with us. Let me have the privilege of also introducing other distinguished guest of honor for this evening, Shivkumar. Shivkumar has been a member of MMA committee, and he is the one who is the brain behind the opening of the chapters at different locations. What we do, that is our outreach program. Shivkumar does quite a bit of work with MSMEs, SMEs, and quality leader, and as you said, he's a director of Roots Industries, director of Skillberry Training Solutions, director of number of other companies, Timelinks, partner of managing partner of RB Industries, Prabha Associates, multiple superstores, Punya Kodi. And sometimes I have to ask Shivkumar, do you remember all the business what you run? Otherwise, so many businesses he runs, and it's very, very interesting because it's always a privilege to have such a person with multifaceted personality. And he's also winner of number of awards, and including he has also won the MMA award for Managerial Excellence Award for his MSMEs about 10 years back. Very warm welcome to Mr. Kumar. And now it's indeed my privilege to welcome Swamiji once again and request Swamiji to please take it forward and speak on the theme of the book. Over to you, Swamiji.
Prathamam Sadgurum Vande Shri Krishnam Tadanantaram Guru Papatmanam Trata Shri Krishnas Tvamalatmanam Yo Brahmanam Vidadhati Purvam Yo vai Vedanscha Prahinoti Tasmai Tagvam ha Devamatma Buddhi Prakasham Mumukshurvai Sharanamaham Prapadde. I'd like to thank the Madras Management Association for once again inviting me for this program. It is always a pleasure to see such a wonderfully managed and highly inspired association that is leading the way for the whole country. Because what we need today in our country is inspired, motivated, qualified leaders. And in the development of a new India, the role of MMA and all its highly inspired members is most noteworthy. So my namaste to all the esteemed members who have joined me here today in this program, Mr. Balaraman, Mr. Srikanth, and Mr. Shivakumar, and of course, my old friend, Group Captain Vijay Kumar. We all in life wish to be happy, wish to do meaningful work, wish to find fulfillment and success, and lead a full and rich life. To achieve this goal, we keep working on enhancing our external resources, adjusting our external circumstances. But in the process, we miss out one very important point, that happiness does not depend on the externals at all. It is all dependent on the kind of emotions that we harbor within ourselves. We always come across people in this world who had money, fame, power, and yet, when we look at their personal lives, they were complete failures. I'm reminded of Howard Hughes. Some of you may remember he was in his time one of the three richest people in the world. You can imagine his wealth and the power of it. He once went to Las Vegas to stay in the desert in penthouse suite. After a few weeks, the manager got sick of him and wanted to kick him out. He just purchased the entire hotel. He liked to see old movies at night on the hotel TV. And there was no such TV station in Las Vegas at that time. So he just purchased a TV station and arranged for those movies. However, around his middle age, his mind went out of control. And he started getting this neurosis that he is getting attacked by germs. So he would lock himself up in his room, which he considered to be germ free. And he would be so scared of germs attacking him from the outside. He would wash his hands 1,000 times a day. If any servant in his household fell sick, he would have his whole wardrobe burnt. When servants served food to him, he would ensure that they had multiple tissues covering their hands. In this state, he imprisoned himself in the last years of his life, and he died extremely miserable. On the other hand, we come across people who are externally in difficult circumstances, facing hardships and challenges, and the severe austerities they are undergoing. And yet, internally, they find great fulfillment and purpose in their life. Some of you may be familiar with a lady called Sindhutai Sapkal. When she was a 6-year-old, she was living in eastern Maharashtra in the district of Wardha, which is a part of the cotton belt, very arid land. She used to take her family's buffaloes for grazing. And when the buffaloes were immersed in the lake, she would run to school where her teacher would beat her because she came late. And then when she returned to the buffaloes, the neighbors would beat her because the buffaloes had grazed their grass. As an 11-year-old, she got married to a much elder man. From him, she had 3 children. When the 4th child was in her womb, she became an activist. The cow dung mafia was exploiting the women of that area. She complained to the district collector, and that annoyed the leader of the mafia gang, who went and told Sindhutai's husband that she had an illicit affair with him, and the child in her womb now, her 4th child, was actually his child. The husband got so swayed by what he heard, he beat her. He took her to the cowshed and beat her so much that she fell under the cow, and then the cow started protecting her. The 4th child came out of her stomach, and she took a stone there to cut the umbilical cord. She took her child and went back to her parents' house, who rejected her. To protect herself from exploitation, she started living in the cremation ground. And she recalls that she would gather grain that would fall on the ground in the market, and cook it on the funeral pyres in the cremation ground. Frustrated with her life, she thought of committing suicide. However, when she was about to do it, she heard the cry of a little child close to the railway track in the railway station. And then she started giving solace to that child and found great satisfaction in it. And that gave her an idea. Could she find meaning and purpose in life by taking care of the orphan children in that railway station? So slowly she started increasing the children under her. She would beg, take care of them. Others came to know. They started coming forward to help. And in a few years, she became known as the mother of orphans. She parented 1,000 orphans. So many of them became PhDs, doctors, reputed engineers. And she says the crowning moment in her life came when her old husband, who had become a derelict by then, came to her for shelter. She did not harbor any bitterness. She welcomed him as her child, and she says, "He is my naughtiest child." Now, here was a lady who underwent such extreme hardship that any of us would shudder to even think about. And yet, she found the most important thing in life, a purpose to live for, and fulfillment in happiness in what she does and what she is. If you compare Howard Hughes with Sindhutai Sapkal, the mother of orphans, what is the difference between the two? One had everything and yet made a mess of his life, and the other had practically nothing and yet she succeeded. Today, she is given so many awards and felicitations. The answer lies within, managing the minds, the thoughts, and the emotions. This mind is such a powerful instrument. In the worst of conditions, if your mind is calm and composed, you will experience celestial bliss. On the other hand, living in the midst of the most opulent luxury, if the mind is disturbed and agitated, you will experience the torment of hell. That is why in our Vedic scriptures, thousands of years ago, the mind was emphasized beyond anything else. It was 2000 years ago that Adi Jagadguru Shankaracharya said, Jagat Jitam Kena, who shall influence and conquer the world? And the answer he gave is more relevant to the world of today than 2000 years ago. That was his foresight. He did not say people who have got better weapons. He said Mano Hyena, that person who has conquered his or her own mind. And thousands of years before Shankaracharya, in the Panchadashi, it was stated, Man eva manushyanam karanam bandhamokshayo. This mind is the cause of bondage, but the mind can be the cause of liberation as well. That is why the Bhagavad Gita states that, look, this mind is like a two-edged sword. It can be your best friend and it can be your worst enemy. The controlled mind, which becomes your servant, helps you as your best asset. And the uncontrolled mind becomes the worst enemy sitting right within you. Hence, in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Uddharedatmanatmanam natmanamavasadhayet. Arjun, uplift yourself by the power of your mind. Do not degrade yourself. Now, in our educational system, we learn so many sciences, but practically each and every science is related to the world on the outside, which is very necessary. We need to understand the laws of the external world and to have the ability to harness it to meet the needs and requirements of our life. However, in this process of education, we miss out one fundamental point, that is how to manage our inner world, the emotions, the values. The Mr. Balaraman emphasized making good choices. But the choices you make will depend on the values you have installed within yourself. And the values that you harbor will depend upon the beliefs that you have got within. What do you believe is the purpose of life? What do you believe is the value of a human being, etc., etc.? So there is a whole inner world, and this inner world got neglected in the Western civilization and their model and perspective of looking at humankind. On the other hand, our Indian civilization emphasized this inner world. Chittameva hi sansaras tat prayatne nashodhayet. That inner world is extremely important. That is why I often tell managers that very often when I go to business schools, I say to the students there that, look, you are learning how to manage machines, finances, market environments, human resources. But have you learned to manage yourself?
Good point. Excellent.
So this management of ourselves is fundamental to our effectivity as a manager.
Yes.
Those who have been managers for 30, 40 years, like the esteemed faculty in our today's discussion, they will share from their personal experience that what counts so important is the attitudes, is the passion and inspiration you bring to your work. And all of that requires managing your inner world. Sometimes the Indian civilization focused too much on the inside to the neglect of the outside.
Group captain, I can't hear him. Hello.
You're able to hear me, Swamiji?
Swamiji?
Now clear, sir.
We can't hear him.
Swamiji, internet connectivity is gone, I think.
Do you have his mobile number?
Yeah, yes. Swamiji, you'll reconnect again. 1 second. Shankar, you log in again, just check. Shankar, you're logging in again.
ಇಲ್ಲ ಇದುವರೆಗೂ ಅಲ್ಲ. Just check. Swamiji வந்துட்டாங்க.
Swami, I think net got disconnected.
Yeah.
That's right.
You can see him. Yeah.
I would like to apologize for that. It seems like I had a Wi-Fi problem that has been solved.
Thank you, Swami.
We can hear you. We can
Yeah,
see
okay.
you. Yeah.
But it can happen in USA. We are okay, Swamiji. Anything can happen. We are very happy.
Very right.
Things are under control for us.
Well, it's not happening in USA. It's happening from up above. Lord Krishna.
So it shows that we need the external world, definitely. But we also need the internal world. We can't do without either of them.
Yeah.
So our Vedas said, Dve vidye veditavye parachaiva paracha. You need two branches of knowledge to make your life a success. First is material knowledge, which helps you understand the external world and utilize it for your purpose. And the second is spiritual knowledge that helps you understand your inner world and develop good attitudes, beliefs, values, which will help you become successful and effective. So this harmony, this synthesis of both is required in life. Now, in this book, The Science of Mind Management, I have explained how you can utilize wonderful tools to manage your mind. So, for example, we often feel that our mind is not under our control. And we keep on thinking compulsively. We keep getting thoughts that seem to come by themselves. However, all of us have been blessed with the potential to control the mind if we so wish by the power of knowledge. Let me give you an interesting example. In medieval India, there was a king called Raja Bhoj. In his kingdom was a learned Pandit, a Vedic scholar. When this scholar grew old, he became poor and he had to take care of his family. He had to get his daughters married. He was short of money. What to do? So he decided, let me steal. Where to steal from? Why not go to the palace of the king himself? So he entered into the crowd and got into the king's palace. At night, when all the courtiers started retiring, he went and hid behind the furniture. And after an hour, he found he was all by himself. So he now located the treasure house of the king and he saw the gold biscuits. He thought, okay, this is the solution to my problems. He was about to lift it up when suddenly knowledge came streaming to his intellect. No, I had remember reading in the Garud Puran that stealing gold is one of the 5 deadly sins. And if I do this, I will go to Kumbhi Pak Narak. I don't want such a destination. I can't steal gold. All right, then forget it. Why not steal diamonds? He discovered the diamond casket there as well. But as he was about to lift a fistful of them, again he remembered the Garud Puran also told that stealing diamonds will lead to roar of Narak. You see, this Garud Puran is very interesting. It talks of 29 kinds of hell, one in which you are burnt in hot oil, etc. So he said, I can't do this. Now, forgetting the knowledge, he had come to sin. But remembering the knowledge, he was not able to sin. That was the power of knowledge. So he decided, this is not my cup of tea. Let me get out. When he was trying to get out, he discovered that there are whole guards standing on the gate. And there was no way to go out without being discovered. So he said, okay, I have to spend the night here. And in the morning, when the crowd again comes, I will slip out unnoticed. So where to hide so that nobody should see me? He thought the safest place will be the bedroom of the king himself. Now the king was sleeping on his bed. He entered and lay down below. So the king was blissfully sleeping above, and the pandit below was also relishing his sleep. In the morning, there used to be a ceremony to wake up the king. And that began the kings of olden days. Brahmins came to recite mantras, ladies came to dance, musicians came to sing varieties of music, and elephants came to blow their trumpet. And Raja Bhoj started gliding out of his deep dream sleep, and he started stretching himself. When he suddenly thought, I am so fortunate to wake me up, all these things are happening. So he started composing a verse. Just in case some of you are not aware, Raja Bhoj was the king in whose patronage Mahakavi Kalidas, the Mahakavi of Sanskrit literature, lived. So he was a little bit of a scholar himself. He started saying, Cheto hara yuvataya surido nukula sadbandhava pranaya garbhakirascha bhritya valganti danti nivahas taralas turanga. He composed 3 lines eulogizing his glories and opulence, and then got stuck. So the Pandit below also woke up and started hearing what the king is saying. Now the king made a second attempt with the same verse, and he got stuck on the 3rd line. So the Pandit started thinking that, this king is rejoicing in these temporary trinkets, the amount of gold coins in his treasury. He doesn't have higher values for himself. And the 3rd time the king again spoke and got stuck. Pandit could not resist. He was a scholar par excellence. So adding a line was like left hand's play. Involuntarily, he blurted out, Sammilane nayanayor nahi kinchidasti. Look, O king, that is all very well, but in your final moment when you close your eyes, none of this is going to go with you. All the elephants will remain right here. When the king heard that, he was startled. I thought I was the only one. Where did this voice come from? Has it come from God himself? Is it some Akashvani? But if it's coming from God, you expect it would come from above. And this has come from below my bed. Is it Patalvani, something from hell? So the king called his guards, find out where did this sound come from. Pandit realized that he would be now discovered. So before they pull him out, he decided to reveal himself. He poked his head out. The king said, who are you? O king, I am a reputed scholar of your kingdom, but what to do? This poverty corrupted my intellect and I lost all my knowledge. I had come to your palace to sing, but when I would go forward to do it, the knowledge would come back to me and I could not do it. That's why I came to hide here. The king said, you are a remarkable person, so honest, but the line which you added was so brilliant. It has opened my eyes and helped me develop detachment from the lower pleasures and look forward to a higher purpose in life. You are like my guru. The king rewarded him profusely. However, the message there was that knowledge made such a huge difference. So that is why the Vedas inform us that look, if you can get good wisdom and empower your intellect with it, then you utilize that empowered intellect to control the mind and make this mind go in the direction that you choose, not that it chooses. So, one of the natures of this mind, as we come to know from this divine wisdom, is its habit forming tendency. All of us, we become creatures of habit. And 90% of the things we do throughout the day are more by the force of our habit. Like, for example, when you get up in the morning, it's not like a philosophical debate, do I need to brush my teeth? You just do it by the force of habit. And why has God given us this nature to create habits? That is because it helps us. Like, for example, the first time when you started typing, you had to use your whole conscious mind to find out the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog, etc., etc. Now, if even after 10 years, typing was so laborious, you would not be able to think alongside with typing. That is why the brain has this feature that slowly, it creates habitual neural structures where the work becomes easy and it becomes automated. That is why today you can type and you can also think alongside. The brain has created the pathways to automate that activity. Similarly, when you drive a car, initially it requires your complete attention. And later on, alongside with driving, you can also listen to the radio and do so many other things, engage in animated conversations. So this habit forming nature of the brain also impacts our behaviors and thought patterns. When we engage in an activity that gives us a little bit of pleasure, and then we start repeating the activity, it creates a habit within us. Hence, if you came back from office and sat down to relax and unwind to watch the TV, and at that time you took a coffee cup to sip it, so this started creating a habit loop, which has three aspects. The first is the trigger. The second is the programmed response of your brain. And the third is the reward that reinforces the habit. So for example, here, the moment you sit before the TV, that becomes a trigger and the mind creates the desire for coffee. And that creates now that desire, you wish to fulfill it. And when you do fulfill, you get the gratification. That gratification or the reward reinforces the habit loop. In this way, we've created a variety of habits within ourselves. We have programmed our subconscious. That programming may be to our benefit or it may be to our detriment. These habits can be considered much like the macros in an Excel sheet. On a cell, you place a macro and it will perform the function. The macro doesn't care whether it is correctly placed there or wrongly placed. It will do its work. Similarly, our subconscious mind does not use logic. The way the conscious mind programs it, it works accordingly. If you have programmed this subconscious to your benefit, you develop habits of motivation, of hard work, of self-discipline. But invariably, we allow bad habits to slip within us. So these bad habits, they come unannounced. You did something 10 times. And before you realize it, you have become a slave of habit. And now it holds such a strong grip on you. So if we wish to make this mind our friend, we need to dismantle these habits that work to our detriment, whether it's wrong eating or insufficient exercising, and install habits that will automate good behavior. So when you wish to break an old habit and replace it with a new habit, you will struggle. Like to throw an object into space, we have to work against the force of gravity. Similarly, there is the gravitational pull of our old habits. And to overcome them requires the development of self-discipline. So on the one hand, we need to empower our intellect with good wisdom. On the second hand, mere wisdom is not enough. To put it into practice, we need self-discipline. We all know that we should eat well, and unnecessary sweets will not work to our benefit. And yet, when the paisam comes in front, we cannot resist it because we lack the self-discipline. So similarly, if you wish to forge ahead, you need the theoretical knowledge, and its implementation requires an attribute called willpower. This willpower is so critical in our lives. Research has shown that in all fields of human endeavor, what is it that correlates to success? So naturally, people who have more intelligence, they are better artists, better painters, better managers, better in their health, etc. But they found that even more than that is the correlation with self-discipline. Those who are self-disciplined, as students, they were sincere and dedicated and high performers. When they entered into jobs, because they worked with commitment, they rose to the top. Because of self-discipline, they control their eating habits, they are healthy. They exercise whether they like it or they don't. And that is why they live longer. And they control their words, so their relationships are healthier. They are socially more responsible. They discovered this self-discipline is such a tremendous virtue. When we wish to transform our inner world, we will need this quality of self-discipline. And interestingly, it can be grown within ourselves. Just like people develop muscles, the youngsters today who are listening to us, they work on their body to develop their muscles. Similarly, willpower as well is like a muscle. And the more you exert it, the stronger it becomes. So each time you know that something is right, and yet you don't do it. That is the choice that Mr. Balaraman was talking about. We weaken the muscle of our willpower. And every time we know that something is an inferior choice, a misutilization of our time, and yet we choose to do it, we weaken our muscle. And each time we make the right choices and resist the wrong ones, we strengthen ourselves a little further. So this willpower grows one strand at a time until it becomes so strong that when the saints, they had such tremendous willpower that we would be astonished by their ability to resist things. But it was all the consequence of practice. What is the practice that we can do to develop some of these virtues? Interestingly, the most powerful practice to grow in self-discipline is that of meditation. Why? Because meditation is all about self-control. The mind wishes to run away to what it is enjoyable and pleasurable to it. And the intellect says, no, you need to focus on this subject, whether you like it or not. So the time when you are meditating, you are engaging in self-control. And even 3 hours of meditation changes the configuration of brain. Scientific studies have shown. And those who engage in meditation on a daily basis, their whole personality gets transformed, even if they are not succeeding in meditation, because they are growing in willpower. So it is a very, very deep science. I have, in this 35 minutes, I've exceeded my half an hour by 5 minutes, but I have given you a little sample of the science of mind management, which I have tried to describe in that book, just to give you a taste of the benefits of this knowledge and how you can utilize it. We would like to make this an interactive session, and we have got some very eminent members here. I would love to hear from them and also welcome the questions of our viewers and listeners today. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Swamiji.
Swamiji.
It's as usual, it's been fascinating hearing you. Every time we hear, we would like to keep hearing you. We really get disappointed why it has come to an end. But anyway, we got a lot of time. Now I request Mr. Srikanth, I'm going to share your views and also share your question, 1 or 2 questions to Swamiji. Thereafter, Shiv, I'll request to come in and share your views quickly and shortly, because I have lots of questions. I think more than 60, 70 questions already reached me. I will try and put as many questions as possible. Swamiji, you can also see them, quite a number of them in your inbox. I will only ask questions which are very relevant to the theme today. There are so many questions which are on karma theory and other things. I think that's not really relevant today. Now, over to you, Mr. Srikanth.
Thank you, Swamiji, for that very inspiring talk. You touched upon, I enjoyed reading your book very much, and whatever you've said today, I was able to relate to because I had read the book it slowly and very deliberately, and I was able to absorb the knowledge in that to a large extent. So my understanding of what you have said is that you need to develop your personality in a positive way, and to do that, need intellect, you need knowledge, and only if you have a good mind, knowledge and wisdom, that you can use that to control your mind and be able to perform in a very positive way, and also develop things like self-discipline, willpower, and so on, which will make you a better human being in life. My question to you is in a larger context. We have so many powerful countries and very big leaders who are managing these countries. In your book, you talk about the karma yogi, who has who does what he's supposed to do, and yet his mind is always thinking about God in the background. Could you tell us why the karma, if world leaders themselves were good karma yogi, we will have lesser problem than we have today?
So, Mr. Shrikant, very, very relevant point you have brought up today. This concept of karma yoga is so fascinating. Sometimes people think that spiritual science has no relevance to our real life. But look at this amazing concept that was presented, where you do your karma, you discharge your worldly duties, and at the same time, you remain in yoga. So this concept of karma yoga has two aspects to it. Karma plus yoga. You are doing your worldly duties as a responsible citizen. And at the same time, the mind remains calm, peaceful, equipoised, pure, and well-intended. That is what we all need to learn, because if everybody is doing their works, but alongside with their works, they find that the mind is sometimes stressed, sometimes anxious, sometimes fearful. So, and ultimately, the lack of purity of the mind and the lack of satisfaction, lack of joy, this is the reason for the misery of people. Now, the Bhagavad Gita was not just presenting us an otherworld solution, that after you die, you will go to so and so. It was telling us how to live our life. In fact, the listener of the Gita, he wanted to run away from the problem that he was facing. And the speaker of the Gita repeatedly urged him that, no, you are not to run away. You stay on that battleground of life, but learn to improve your insight. And hence, a beautiful definition of a yogi is given there. Yogina karma kurvanti sangam tyaktvatma shuddhaye. Who is a yogi? One who does the karma, but without any disturbance within. That means you may be administering a country. You may be taking care of thousands of millions of people. And yet you discover that in the midst of all this, you can retain your equipoise. That is the karma yoga. How do we do that karma yoga? When our intention gets purified. If we think this work is for my pleasure, I am the doer, I am the enjoyer, and it is all for my happiness, we will be attached to the outcomes. And attachment will lead to distress. If we can purify our intention, that my purpose is to serve through this work, to serve all of creation, to serve the supreme creator of whom I am a part. when that intention becomes, I'm doing it for a higher purpose as an act of service, then we will discover that we put in our best and we leave to God all the rest. Nothing disturbs us, even though we are performing at our highest levels. So in the ancient days, we hear of great kings who were karma yogis like Dhruv, Prahlad, Ambarish, Prithu. So in modern times, that same concept can be applied. And if the leaders of the various countries could take that as an ideal, they would be doing their work as a service to God and society. So naturally, it would become all auspicious for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Swamiji. Now, I'll request Shivakumar. Before I request Shivakumar, I'll just take a few seconds. I'm happy to share with you, we have over 1,300 viewers watching this program live from our different social media portals. And we have got a lot of questions. And also thank Sweta Bhagat, who joined from Westland, who really facilitated Swamiji, the connect with Swamiji. And thanks, Sweta, for doing that. Over to you, Shiv.
Swamiji. Good evening to Group Captain Vijay Kumar, Mr. Srikanth, and Mr. Balraman, and thousands of members who have joined in today for this excellent meeting today. First of all, we are very privileged and honored to be launching this book on this very special day, which is going to benefit many, many people in this part of the world. I have gone through the book, and what really inspired me was that after I completed the book, I felt that I need to read it 100 times more. The reason why I felt that I need to read it 100 times more, because the second time brought in a better understanding of the subject. And I find that I read it or at different times, then I can introspect, correct myself on a day-to-day activity, and maybe make a diary like what you said on the things that I need to change and things and my how I can increase my willpower and improve my own lifestyle. I like the chapter on sadhanas. I like your clear explanation of desire. It was very, very powerful on what is the cost of desire. The anger, greed can be all the cause of desire. So it's simple words with a lot of Sanskrit verses or Vedic verses, then translated very well, followed by very short stories. And these short stories make you understand the subject a lot more clearer. Otherwise, when we say mind, we all feel that it is all the mind. We don't know the difference between the intellect and the mind. Now, when we read your book, we can find the subtle difference between the intellect and the mind. The examples that you've shown for us to understand what's an intellect and what's a mind are all powerful. Thank you, Swamiji, for coming out with such an excellent book. And the inner reflection is what is going to change the reader. Now, from my side, not a very powerful question, but I thought, anger and greed arise from desire. And you have dwelt upon well in this book that desire is more dangerous than anger and greed. And this is the negative effect of the desire. The positive effect of the desire has also been explained by you. The positive effect is that when I look at wellness and when I look internally, and if I have to look at connecting with the Supreme, then it's positive desire that can improve the self. Now, I would like to ask you, what would your advice be to entrepreneurs to bring this desire in a proper form to the organization? While you've talked about Karma Yogi, can you develop on it a little more? What should be the vision of the entrepreneur who wishes to go in this path? While Karma Yogi is a powerful answer, is there something else that you'd like to add at this junction?
Okay, Mr. Shivakumar, thank you so much for sharing your own realizations and your own experiences as you read the book. It was very, very fulfilling to hear your testimony of it. And I would also like to express my appreciation for the beautiful way in which we had the e-launch today here at the MMA. It was so nice to see the way it was done. I would like to thank the publishers, Westland Publications of Amazon India, and really happy to be sharing the wisdom from this book. So Mr. Shiv Kumar has asked something very relevant to entrepreneurs. To be an entrepreneur is not an easy task. An episode came to my mind just when you were asking. I have a devotee here in USA, and he came to know that I would be meeting a venture capitalist over dinner. And he said, can you please put in a word from my side to this venture capitalist so that he may finance my venture. And then when I put that, I said, you are a venture capitalist and I have got this devotee who's thinking of this. And do you think you can consider? So he gave me a very eye-opening response. He said, Swamiji, to start a new venture is so difficult. It requires so much of effort and strong commitment and determination that if any such person approaches me as a venture capitalist through a third party, I immediately cancel them, that these people don't have what it takes. In other words, apart from the soundness of the proposal, I see those qualities of the person behind it. Does he have the commitment that it takes to succeed? That is the world of entrepreneurship. And that is where you definitely need a strong desire. So this concept of mind management becomes extremely relevant there. Firstly, because you will encounter failure again and again. So if you don't have that deeper vision and higher values, a little bit of failure will demoralize you. However, those who succeed are the ones who failed 10 times and succeeded in the 11th attempt. And the failures are the ones who gave up after 5 defeats. That is why in this world of entrepreneurship, how do we ensure a successful journey? In that, if we can utilize spiritual knowledge, we develop a higher value system where we see that this is not for my sake alone. I am doing it in an attitude of service. There are so many entrepreneurs who think that, look, I have got 2 rotis to eat and 2 sets of clothes to wear, but I am living in this poor country where there are millions who don't have food on their table. They don't even have tables. And let me do my bit where I can create employment opportunities and help others. In fact, you may be surprised to know that the growth of Japan, which was powered by companies like National Electric and Panasonic, etc. So the founder of that, Matsushita-san, his slogan was PPP, which translated in English meant not for bread alone. And therein lay a strong message for entrepreneur. If you are just doing it for the sake of bread, the moment there is failure, you will be discouraged. But if yours is a higher motivation, then you will go past every obstacle until you achieve success. And that higher motivation will require higher values, and higher values will require higher knowledge. That is why the Bhagavad Gita says, Buddhi Yoga. Arjun, what I am teaching you is the yoga of the intellect. Now we hear of Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, but Lord Krishna says, this is yoga of the intellect. The moment your intellect has got that superior knowledge, you have the resources to uplift your mind and move ahead. Like Swami Vivekananda said, awake, arise, and stop not till the goal is reached. But that will happen with the superior knowledge. So, Mr. Shivakumar, I hope to a small extent that answers.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Swamiji. Before I go to so many questions which have come, social media and other thing, Mr. Balraman, do you have any question? And after your question, I'll move to the.
Yes, I have three. Normally, if you listen to some good things, we have to do some good things about that. We need to put it to good use. Otherwise, Swamiji's effort would have been in vain, and that is something that would be a great pop. We should not do that. Now, to take, Swamiji is giving us something of very, very high value. The tools for self-management for every Indian, for everybody on this globe. If every Indian can manage himself, if everybody in this globe can manage himself or herself very well, this would be a very happy place indeed. There will be Ram Raj all around the globe. Now, to take Swamiji's ideas to nation building, there would be some efforts required by us along with Swamiji, working with Swamiji. We will need to start something at the level of the school. Our experience in Ponds was to recruit very smart people, but have a very strong value system, very, very good system of ethics, with which they identified, which they respected. And then we trained them to be human, to trust the human being. It is okay to fail, but you got to make an attempt. I mean, it is wrong not to make an attempt, but it is okay to fail. Failure is not a problem. You have to get back up and fight again. And we trusted you. We never questioned you. We never trusted the systems. We trusted the human being. If someone says, I spent 80,000 rupees believing it would win, but I made a mistake, we say, fine. I mean, that's fine. That's gone. Now, what will you do to win? So that worked very well for Ponds. Now, that taught us the fundamentals of starting at the very basic level. So how do we inculcate Swamiji's teachings at the school level? I think the habits that he talked about, the ethics that he talked about, they are best done at the level of the school. And group captain, we need to put some teachers to work on this. And with Swamiji's kind permission and his grace, if we can consult with him and if he would correct the course correct us as we go along, we will try and implement it at the school level. We also need to do something at the, a large number of management schools are members of MMA, and we are going to have a student convention. And so I think we should invite Swamiji to speak at the student convention.
He's already accepted, sir. He's already accepted our invitation. Speak at the convention.
See, at that level, some of Swamiji's teaching come alive, like the Karma Yoga, for example, is much better understood at that level, and the intellect coming and to help your control, that comes very, very well. A lot of sadhana that he talks about can be applied at the college level. Now, Swamiji, can we have your support for doing this?
Definitely, Mr. Balaraman. We are anything that any of us can do. It is always an honor and privilege. what you have said is very important, that our educational system, if it could provide these inputs to the young minds at that foundational stage, it would make such a difference. Unfortunately, we just blindly took the Western model of education and adopted it, where we've got engineer making education, doctor making education. But Swami Vivekananda said that education is the art of man making, by which we become a complete human being. So, to be a complete human being, this input is also so necessary. We teach people how to be successful, but we don't teach them how to deal with failure. And the fact is, on the way to success, everybody has to fail many times. And all
Absolutely.
these problems of depression, etc., that you see arising is all because of that.
Exactly.
And that is why inputs like this are definitely very, very necessary. So the problem is that when we want to introduce these, we need qualified teachers who can teach these. And there must be some effort to create a pool of teachers who can teach these things. From our side, JK Yog is in the process of establishing a university, but that is still a long while away. It will still take a few years before it actually gets commissioned, 2 to 3 years. And we hope that will help fill this gap and help in the process of creating a pool of trained teachers in these sciences of human excellence and human values, etc., and Vedic sciences, etc., so that we can in, provide these inputs to the masses. But in any effort that the MMA is undertaking, if my time and energy permits, it shall always be an honor and privilege to participate.
Thank you, Swamiji. There is one other third thought that had come into my mind, which is both you and I have been students of schools of management. I'm from the Western School in Ahmedabad, and you are from the Eastern School in Calcutta. The human resource management taught there teaches a lot of principles, but in practice, human resource management in companies tend to be merely administration, human resource administration. And I have been very frustrated that the human resource is really not creating, encouraging, developing, enhancing human resource. Your focus on self-management gives me an idea that I could put a few people to research this with you and develop a course to teach this, the art of self-management. So that is a third idea I have in mind, Swamiji, for which if I may trouble you, sir, with your peace, with your kindness, with your compassion, can you help us?
Yes, see, I am always looking for new and effective ways of bringing this ancient knowledge to life and showing the people its relevance in their lives. So the idea that you have suggested, I think is very, very, there's a great possibility there. Now, what happens in human resource management is that the managers have a narrow perspective, how to get this person to perform the maximum for the company. So if the managers themselves could have a more mature outlook, where it's not a question of extracting the most from the people, but seeing that each of the personnel is on a journey and their work in the company is a part of their life journey. And the life journey is about bringing out the best in them. So if the senior manager could see himself or herself as a facilitator in the life unfoldment of the people below, with that kind of intention, they would engage in servant leadership.
Exactly.
So as a leader, if we have the servant attitude that I am the servant, it is very interesting. I was once, about 30 years ago, I was seeing this Sunday serial. I was in somebody's house. A Chanakya serial was going on. And there, Chandragupta, king, he asks Chanakya Pandit that according to your Vedas, what is the position of the king apropos the subjects? And Chanakya said, look, the king is the servant of his people and nothing else. Look, actually, slowly, management science is waking up to this point that the most effective style of management is servant leadership. But we can definitely, we can see how to introduce these concepts and popularize them.
Thank you, Swamiji. We'll work with you. And Vijay, we need to take this forward.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Balram. We'll surely take it forward. Great input, and we'll possibly do that. We got a number of questions. I will take a couple of them from the social media, what has come. We'll make it as a rapid fire round so that we'll try and accommodate as many questions as possible. The first question has come from Niladri from West Bengal. What do you want to know? What he says, I read mind management book, Swamiji. My question is, how I can manage my mind when there is a hindrance from my family itself? If I pressure them to follow a daily routine, they will be quarreling every day with me. What can I do in this situation?
Well, Niladri, that gives you an opportunity to practice mind management. See, mind management means that there's a disturbance on the outside, but you realize you can still harbor the emotions that you choose within. Nobody can force you to be unhappy. And this is the opportunity. In fact, in the Ramayana, it states, if you want to purify your mind, get people who are critics around, let them criticize, and you remain normal. Your mind will get purified without soap and water. Try it out. I'm making it rapid fire, Group Captain Vijay Kumar.
I want to accommodate as many questions as possible. That's the intent. So sure. Everybody will be happy that you attended the question. The next question has come from Mr. Devesh from Patna. His question is, my question is, should we fight difficulties which come or not rely on our strength like how Draupadi did when humiliated?
Okay, now that's a philosophical question. Actually, you need to do both. So this answer was given by Maharshi Vasisht to Bhagwan Ram in the Yoga Vasisht. He says, Karta Bahir, Akarta Antar Vihara Raghava. Ram, externally put in your best efforts as if it depends on you. But internally cultivate the sentiment that, I am powerless without the grace of God. And I'm praying to God to grace me and help me in this situation. So you'll have to utilize both these principles. Internally depend on the Lord and externally put in your best efforts. Thank you.
Here's a question from Mr. Ramji. He's a student, management student. What he wants to know, Swamiji, is his book really worth every penny? Can we get depression free from this book? I am a JEE student from India and have been under severe depression and anxiety for the last 14 months. Will this book help me?
See, it would be extremely egotistic for me to praise my own book, right? So if you say, is it worth every penny? I'll say definitely not. If you have a doubt in that regard, you can just go on to my YouTube channel and you can simply hear to these concepts through the videos. That will also serve the purpose. However, if we value this knowledge, then we find that we are willing to invest in it. It's all a question of how much we value it. If you felt that learning public speaking would make a difference to your life, you'd pay thousands of rupees to become a public speaker. So similarly, if you think that my mind is the single most important part of my personality, which is determining the quality and success of my life, you would not mind spending hundreds of thousands of rupees to improve your mind, right? So it's all a choice that you have to make.
Thank you. Super, Swamiji. Now, this is a question from Binita Pandey from Jabalpur. This question is in Hindi, actually. So I will read it out. It's simple Hindi. Om Swamiji, मेरा क्वेश्चन है, मैं सात्विक लाइफ जीना चाहती हूँ हाँ मैं आपकी काम पर फोकस करना चाहती हूँ, बट टाइम मैनेजमेंट नहीं हो पा रहा है, ड्यू टू विच मैं कंसंट्रेट भी नहीं करना चाहता हूँ, एंड मेरा कल्चर तो टोटली अलग है. हाउ आई कैन अटेन सात्विक लाइफ एंड कंसंट्रेट with time management to achieve my endeavor?
So that's great, Vijay Kumar ji, that just you have passed the test of reading Hindi. Very nice. Good, good. Happy to know that. So her question, she has said that she wants to do mind management, but she is not succeeding in it. So listen, don't get worried. It is not easy to manage this mind. Arjun himself, he asked Lord Krishna in the Gita that, "Oh, Sri Krishna, this mind seems to be more difficult to control than the wind." The Lord Krishna said, "Asanchayam mahabaho manodur nigraham chalam." Arjun, what you're saying is right. It's a fact. So now when we find that, look, my mind is creating so many problems, don't become discouraged, but set about a plan that today it's difficult. I will keep working. Every week I will improve 1%. And in 52 weeks, I'll have become a 50% better person. So this is the way you slowly, slowly keep on improving. Always be optimistic and work with dedication and commitment. And that transformation will happen by your effort and the blessings of God. Thank you.
Thank you, Swami. Here's a question from JST Suresh, member from MMA. She wants to know, what are the influencing factors that make human to choose an action which is higher order in karma life? Something similar to this question is another question is in the chat box, Swamiji. Hello, Swamiji. With reference to today's session on the science of mind management, my question is how to overcome stress related to health issues that further deteriorates the health situation when we think more about the health issues. And aptly told by Swamiji, mind can be our worst enemy if not managed properly. So health-related stress can sometimes cause more stress. How to overcome it? I choose this question because today, during this difficult times, I think it will be a very good input from you, Swamiji.
Okay, so when it comes to stress, the reason why we feel stressed is not because we work hard. It is a misnomer to think that hard work is stressing us. Factually, the cause for stress is our attachment to the outcome. When we think it should happen like this, it should not happen like that, that is what stresses us. And hence, the solution to stress is, again, it was given 5,000 years ago. Karmanye vadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. You put in your best efforts, but don't be attached. The moment you give up that attachment to results, you will find all stress has disappeared and your work is even more effective. But that giving up of attachment will happen only when our values change from inside. So going to the previous question, Vijay Kumarji, you have asked together, that how do we make these choices in the karmas that we do? The karmas depend on our values. If you value family more than your profession, then your time is more spent on family than profession. It's a simple thing. If you value money, then you're willing to sacrifice so many things for money. So if we wish to do the good karmas, we must ensure that our values are right. And these values, they come from beliefs. What are the beliefs we have installed? If your belief is that money will give me the things I need, then your value will be accordingly. So we must have the proper beliefs. Herein lies the whole problem. People allow beliefs to just happen to them. They don't think about it deeply. And the Vedas tell us the most important thing in your personality is your beliefs. Ensure that your beliefs are created based not on hearsay, not automatically, but on good knowledge. So use the good knowledge to install good beliefs, to have good values, to do good things. Thank you.
Thank you, Swamiji. Here's a question from Mr. Murugadas. He says, most respected Swamiji, Pranam. My daughter is brought up in a very comfortable zone with lots of love and affection. Now she is married to a good family and a very good husband and a mother of a child. But she gets anger very frequently. She has been negative attitude, fear, anger, indecisive, lack of confidence, negativeness, laziness, everything. Now she has to be refined with excellent attitude and behavior. Kindly, what should be a word of advice to my daughter under the difficult circumstances?
I think the first thing required is awareness. The person who is experiencing anger needs to become deeply aware that this is a defect in the personality. That awareness will create the desire that I need to improve this. If somebody is not aware, if somebody is not painfully acknowledging that this is a huge problem I have, then the effort will not come. So somehow or the other, the daughter should be able to become aware that this is a disease. The Vedas call it mental disease, manas rogs. We've got physical ailments. Anger is a mental ailment. And why is this anger coming about? It is coming out of immaturity. Things should happen the way I want. In other words, I am the center of the whole universe, and everything should be according to my desire, fulfilling my desire. We had discussed why does anger arise when desire is obstructed? And these desires are out of a childish perspective that I am the center of the universe. Right? Now, when we develop spiritual awareness, we realize I am not for the universe. I mean, the universe is not for me. I am for the sake of the universe. So if my puny desires are not getting fulfilled, it doesn't matter. That is when we rise above likes and dislikes. And we learn to lead a life of purpose and find fulfillment in it. So this is where the knowledge will become helpful to your daughter. Thank you.
Thank you, Swami. Here's a question come from Mumbai. I'm not taking the name. She really requested me to ask this question to you. He said, please ask this question to Swamiji. I'm sure many women must have faced it. I suffered at the hands of my in-laws and felt powerless to stop it. After decades of misery, I started taking a stand on this and things have changed. There is no desire to avenge myself, but the fast haunts me and the role my timidity played in it. Though I engage in hours of spiritual practices, I am unable to convince my mind to let go. Please provide me a powerful suggestion for my mind to let go what had happened in the past.
Well, if your in-laws were troubling you and you took a stand, that was very brave, because God has given you this life and you have to make it a success. So to make it a success, you sometimes have to take a stand. So I congratulate you for taking the stand, but at the same time, remember that if you allow bitterness to overcome you, then your own mind will sink down. And the ultimate purpose that your life should be successful will not be accomplished. So somebody said bitterness is like drinking poison and hoping the other guy dies. We harbor bitterness towards the others, but it works like poison upon us. So considering its harm it will do to you, you make a firm resolve. This is where the mind management will come in. I will not let my mind think like this. I will divert my mind to positivity and to a higher purpose. So utilize all that knowledge and work upon your mind. And in a few months, that bitterness will all be a thing of the past.
Swamiji, I'll try and squeeze in 2-3 questions before we close, Swamiji. Here the question is it possible to consciously identify the thoughts through which we program subconscious mind? As in a day, we are engrossed with so many random thoughts going in our mind. How do we handle such a situation?
The subconscious mind is getting programmed by the thoughts in the conscious mind. So now what is happening is that the nature of the subconscious mind is the thought that gets repeated again and again. That has the greatest impact, number one. And the second is the intensity of the emotion behind the thought. So if a thought is not powered with emotion, it doesn't impact the subconscious so much. Whereas if it's a deep emotion and then it gets repeated, that really programs our subconscious. So keeping that in mind, if you wish now to reprogram your subconscious, then you use the power of self-talk. That means that you think of some positive affirmations, and with great emotion, you repeat them to yourself that I can succeed. The blessings of God are there. The divine purpose of creation is to help me succeed. I will definitely. So such affirmations, you write them down and then repeat them again and again and again. So it is not what Swamiji is talking which will change you. It is what you talk to yourself which will change you. Thank you.
Thank you, Swami. Here's a question from Mr. Uday Shankar. He's from Vishwa Yuva Kendra, New Delhi. He says it's a fascinating session and it's a life-changing session. Grateful to you, Swamiji. Kindly enlighten us that how we can practice self-discipline through our willpower.
Yes, Uday Shankarji, willpower is, like I said, it's like a muscle. Now, our brain, only human beings have this faculty. So the human brain has got this extra feature called the prefrontal cortex. And the prefrontal cortex enables you to do the beneficial thing even though it is unpleasant, and to desist from the pleasurable thing even though it is pleasant. This ability is given to us humans to control the mind with the power of the intellect. So if we neglect this willpower, it becomes flabby and deteriorates until it comes to the point where we are just servants of the whims of the mind. And you find people like that. So as we grow up and mature, it is so important to get a handle over the mind by expanding our willpower. So a simple exercise, you deny the mind. That means you go beyond the likes and dislikes of the mind. The mind likes to do this, I will not do it. The mind does not like to do this, I will do it. And slowly, you will find this willpower muscle has become strong and the mind has got subdued. So you can equate the mind to a monkey or whatever, but it learns very fast. Try and practice this discipline, and slowly that willpower will grow until the mind becomes your friend.
Thank you, Swamiji. From Delhi, we'll go to Jodhpur. Shilpa Daswani from Jodhpur, Rajasthan. She wants to know Radhe Radhe Swamiji, and my spiritual journey began by listening to speeches from 2019. Now I feel the divinity of Supreme in various forms in my life. Like in my difficult times, I hear inner voice which guides me and show me the best possible path. Is this my path karma that I am blessed to have devotion, or is it an unconditional blessing of the Supreme in me? And I would like to deeply thank you for your grace, Swamiji, and thank you so much. This is a message, and if you have any comment, you could do that. And I'll close with one last question. If you have got any comment, you can answer, Swamiji.
Okay, so now we have again become more philosophic with that question. Well, both the things are right. Definitely our karmas play a role in this. If somebody comes to bhakti, it is not all of a sudden. It was the bank balance that soul had built up over so many lifetimes. But then at the same time, there's the grace of God and the grace of Guru that descends. that also plays a role. We come in touch with the holy personality who helps make that little shift within us. It makes all the difference. So undoubtedly, our past karmas do get the credit, but the nature of devotion is such, the devotee doesn't attribute it to karmas. The devotee says that I was undeserving of the grace I received. And it is all my Guru and God who have blessed me. Otherwise, I was unworthy of it. In devotion, the devotee attributes credit to anything good that he or she does to the divine. And that enables us to cut off the pride of doership or the ego within.
I mean, so many questions come, but we have come to the end of the session. I will ask one last question, Swamiji, and with this we'll close. And that is, Swamiji, how do I become aware? What support I can seek for this? And what is the largest obstacle to peace? How can we expand the love within our minds? This is the last question for the evening, Swamiji.
Largest obstacle to what?
So seek this. What is the largest obstacle to peace? And how can we expand the love within our minds?
I see. Now, this is actually 2 questions.
Yes, yes. Maybe I was trying to make it combined. Yes, Swami. Right. You can answer any one of the question of your choice.
No problem. Now, people are slipping in 2 questions, and nevertheless, I will answer both. As far as the resources, see, in today's world, the resources are so readily available. It is astonishing. When in the ancient days, for example, Madhvacharya, he wanted to go and meet his guru, Ved Vyas. He had to go all the way to Badrik Ashram and meet him and come back. Now here the Guru's Vani is available through the YouTube, through the internet, through podcasts, and through so many platforms. Now we have books printed and we have so many resources available, courses created. It's a question of how we wish to utilize these. From the side of JK Yoga, we do have a variety of courses that go online. So we have the JK Yoga Online Academy, and we have regular their workshops, life transformation programs, mind management sessions, etc., that you can take advantage of, and various videos, etc., etc. And the second was regarding Vijay Kumarji. Can you remind me of the second part of the question?
The second question is, Swamiji, one second. What is the largest obstacle to peace, and how can we expand the love within our minds?
Yes. I was once asked to speak at the United Nations on peace. And the way I presented the topic was, so they said, you know, we are all about world peace. What do you have to say about world peace? So I said, look, I spoke on this topic, world peace through peaceful pieces. You can only have world peace if each individual piece, each human being is peaceful. Because if this individual unit is not peaceful, then how will there be peace at the macro level? Now, to bring about the peace within us, the Bhagavad Gita states, Vihaya kamanya sarvan pumans charati nispriha nirmamo nirahankaraha sashanti madhigacchati. How will you get peace? The word in Sanskrit is shanti. How will you get shanti? What an astonishing answer, and what a perfect answer. Lord Krishna says you will get shanti when you ease away all these desires. What is agitating us is only our desires. We have got everything made. You know, people are at the highest levels and still they are agitated because the desire is still going on and on and on. So if we can learn to master this desire, and that will come when you decide that my biggest wealth is not the number of bedrooms in my house or the size of my car. My biggest wealth is how good I have become as a person, the inner wealth through mind management. So when you prioritize your inner wealth, that is when your external desires will ease and get purified, sublimated. And that is how you will find peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Swamiji, for the fascinating evening. There's so many questions. I suggest to buy the book. You have an answer for all your questions. And thank you, Mr. Srikanth. Thank you, Shivakumar. And thank you, Mr. Balraman. As Swamiji, as a token of our appreciation during difficult times, you would like to present on your behalf 300 face masks to the needy people here. What we do, our volunteers go around and present this mask to the people, because at the moment, with the vaccine or no vaccine, mask is the only one which can protect us from this serious issue, what's happening today. Our team goes around and present the mask and make the people, educate them to learn this. And thank you so much, Swamiji. And it's again a fascinating evening, as Mr. Balraman put across. We'll collaborate with you and take your help to move forward some of the issues what have been brought about. Thanks so much for joining us from USA to deliver on a very, very insightful, thought-provoking address on the theme of your recent book. We're indeed grateful to you. Thanks to Sweta again from Westland. Again, thanks to our distinguished guests of honor this evening, Mr. Shivakumar and Mr. Srikanth Ramanujam and Mr. Balraman. Thank you, each one of you. Stay safe, stay healthy until we meet again. Bye-bye. Good night. Swamiji, pranam. I will keep in touch with you, and good night.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
Namaste. I'd like to thank all our guests, Mr. Balaraman, Mr. Srikanth, and Mr. Shivakumar, and Group Captain Vijay Kumar. Thank you once again for such a well-conceptualized program. It was an honor and pleasure to connect with everyone. Namaste.
Thank you, sir.